Good morning. My name is Rabbi Aaron Rozovsky, and I am the chaplain for the 112th Military Police Battalion, Mississippi Army National Guard. In my civilian life, I'm the Director of Rabbinical Services for the Institute of Southern Jewish Life, based in Jackson, Mississippi. On behalf of the soldiers, airmen, civilians, and veterans of the Mississippi National Guard and their families, I want to thank you so much for joining us today as we remember the over 6 million Jews and over 5 million Catholics, Roma, Poles, African and Soviet prisoners of war, Jehovah's Witnesses, intellectuals, members of the LGBTQ community, political dissidents, free speech advocates, mentally and physically disabled persons, and trade unionists who were murdered by the Nazis and their allies during the Holocaust, Hitler's final solution. Let us be clear as to what the Holocaust, the Shoah, was. It was the wholesale, premeditated, organized, and industrial killing of entire peoples and races who did not fit into a certain ideology. The Holocaust remains one of the worst crimes in all of human history. This year holds special significance for the United States Army as it marks the 75th anniversary of the downfall of the Third Reich, the Allied victory over Germany and Japan, and the liberation of the Nazi death camps. For those of us who wear this uniform, the liberation of the concentration and death camps is one of the proudest moments in our Army heritage. It undoubtedly ranks alongside with Washington's crossing of the Delaware, the Patriot victories of Saratoga and Yorktown, the Rough Riders charging up San Juan Hill, the valor of the 1st and 29th Infantry Divisions on Omaha Beach, the heroism of the 173rd at Dak To and 107th Cav at Ia Drang in Vietnam, the feats of ODA 595 in Afghanistan in the fall of 2001, and the courage of those who took part in Operation Phantom Fury in Fallujah, Iraq in 2004. Every time we put on this sacred cloth, we should be reminded of the greatest generation and what they did to save the world. In the spring of 1945, the United States and our Allied brethren were closing in on Hitler's Germany. They had fought through and been through literal hell, from the amphibious landings at Salerno, Anzio, and Omaha and Utah beaches, to the airborne operations of Normandy and Market Garden, from the heat of the North African desert to the bitter cold of Bastogne, and from the treacherous bombing missions in the skies over Europe to running the U-boat gauntlet in the Atlantic. Casualties had been incredibly high, and then the men and women in the European theater thought they had seen it all. Then, in the heart of Germany, the American and British armies came across and liberated the concentration camps of Dachau, Buchenwald, Mauthausen, and Bergen-Belsen. The sights, the smells, the utter horror was beyond comprehension and were unlike anything they had experienced up to then. Emaciated bodies were stacked and piled like cordwood in cattle cars. The stench of burned flesh and death hovered for miles in the sight of mass graves. What they saw wasn't war. It was genocide. None of it seemed real. Supreme Allied Commander and future President of the United States, General Dwight D. Eisenhower, on witnessing the horrors at Ohrdruf concentration camp, alongside Generals Patton and Bradley, recounted, "The things I saw beggar description. While I was touring the camp, I encountered 3 men who had been inmates and by one ruse or another had made their escape. I interviewed them through an interpreter. The visual evidence and the verbal testimony of starvation, cruelty, and bestiality were so overpowering as to leave me a bit sick. In one room where they were piled up 20 or 30 naked men killed by starvation, George Patton would not even enter. He said he would get sick if he did so. I made the visit deliberately in order to be in a position to give first-hand evidence of these things if ever in the future there develops a tendency to charge these allegations merely to propaganda. The 6 million Jews who perished in the Holocaust came from every walk of life, man and woman, young and old, rich and poor, professor and peasant, urban and rural, famous and unknown, religious and secular. Yet they all shared one thing in common. They died because they were part of Am Yisrael, the people of Israel. In Jewish tradition, the number 18 is symbolic of Chai, life. As long as we remember the victims of the Shoah, the Holocaust, a small vestige of them, their memory, their sacred memory, continues to live on. In that spirit, we now recall 18 selected victims of the Shoah, whose lives were so tragically taken. U.S. Army Private Morton Goldstein, a Jewish-American soldier and POW, age 22. He was executed while being used as a slave laborer by the German Army because of his faith on March 14, 1945. Fencer and Olympic gold medalist János Gáray, age 56, of Budapest, Hungary. He was murdered at Mauthausen-Gusen on March 5, 1945. Rabbi Regina Jonas, aged 42, of Berlin. Rabbi Jonas was killed in the gas chambers of Auschwitz on October 12, 1942. Rabbi Elchanan Wasserman, aged 67, of Birzei, Lithuania. Rabbi was murdered by Lithuanian collaborators in Kaunas, Lithuania, on July 6, 1941. Olympic fencer Roman Cantor, age 31, of Lodz, Poland, died at Majdanek in 1943. Poet and SOE paratrooper Hanna Senich, age 23, of Budapest in Kibbutz Sdot Yam, executed by firing squad on November 7, 1944. Gymnast and Olympic gold medalist Judd Simons, age 38, of The Hague, murdered at Sobibor along with her husband Bernard, 5-year-old daughter Sonia, and 3-year-old son Leon on March 20th, 1943. National track and field record setter Lily Hennig Konigsberg in Berlin, age 42, murdered alongside her mother and brother in the woods outside Riga, Latvia on September 5th, 1942. Rabbi Avraham Yitzhak Bloch, aged 50, of Telz, Lithuania, murdered along with all the other Jewish men of Telz by the SS and their Lithuanian sympathizers on July 15, 1941. Olympic gymnast Helena Nordheim, age 39, of Amsterdam, murdered at Sobibor along with her husband Abraham and 10-year-old daughter Rebecca on July 2nd, 1943. Actor and comedian Max Ehrlich, aged 51, of Berlin, gassed at Auschwitz on October 1st, 1944. Chemist Dr. Ernst Julius Cohen, aged 74, of Amsterdam, gassed at Auschwitz on March 6, 1944. Painter Felix Nussbaum, age 39, of Onnesbruck, Germany, gassed at Auschwitz on August 9, 1944, along with his wife, Felka. Historian and French resistance member Marc Bloch, aged 57, of Lyon and Paris, shot by the Gestapo in southern France on June 16, 1944. Composer Leo Smit, aged 42, of Amsterdam, gassed at Sobibor, April 30th, 1943. Cantor Gershon Sirota, of Odessa, Vilna, and Warsaw, aged 68, killed during the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising on April 19, 1943. Teenager Anne Frank, aged 15, of Frankfurt and Amsterdam, died of typhoid at Bergen-Belsen, February 1945. Resistance fighter Marianne Cohn, aged 21, of Mannheim, beaten to death by the Gestapo near the woods of Ville-la-Grande, France, on July 8, 1944. We also recall 18 Jewish communities that were destroyed during the Shoah. Some of these cities, towns, and villages, Jews were in the minority. In others, they were the majority. Some of the Jewish populations numbered in the dozens. In others, they were in the hundreds of thousands. Many of the communities had existed for hundreds, even thousands of years, and were famous for what they had contributed to not only the Jewish, but indeed all human thought, expression, and experience. Regardless, they all deserved to be remembered. Minsk, Antopol, Evier, Krakow, Lublin, Warsaw, Borzna, Bar, Kovel, Uman, Somber, Savran, Makariv, Salonika, Pardubice, Lipnik, Pinsk, Simnas. We now remember them with the mournful prayer, El Male Rachamim, which means God full of mercy. The mourner's prayer, which is called Kaddish Yatom, and finally Psalm 23. El Male Rachamim, God full of mercy. El Male Rachamim, Shochein Ba Meromim, Chametzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, B'malot Kiddushim Utohorim, Kzoher Rakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmot Kol Acheinu B'nei Yisrael, Nashim V'tav, Shenitbechu V'shenechenku V'shenisrafu V'shenerhegu Began Eden Tehei Menuchatam Ana Ba'al Harachamim Hastirem Beseter Knafecha Leolamim Tror Bitror Hayim Et Nishmotechem Adonai Adonai Hu Hanahalatam V'yanuhu Shalom Al Mishkovotechem Nomar Amen. The Mourner's Kaddish, the Mourner's Prayer. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. V'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malhutei. V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. V'agala v'zman kariv v'yimru Amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach v'alam v'almei almayach. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei. V'yitchadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudeshach barichu. Ve'ela min kol birchata v'shiachata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata. Ta'amiran b'alma v'yimru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Aseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. Restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Just as entire countries and ideologies dedicated themselves to the destruction of the Jewish people and anyone else they considered subhuman, so too were there righteous individuals in Nazi-occupied Europe who risked literally everything in order to save their not only Jewish friends and neighbors, but also complete strangers. There are currently 27,362 known and recorded non-Jewish heroes and heroines whose deeds have been recognized and celebrated by Yad Vashem, the State of Israel's National Holocaust Museum and Memorial. In Hebrew, they are called Hasidei Umot Ha'olam, righteous among the nations. They were the very embodiment of the famous dictum, all that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing. They did something, and we will never forget them. Just as we must never forget those who perished, we must recall the names and the deeds of the righteous among the nations. We now offer you 18 of their names. Watchmaker Casper ten Boom, aged 84, of Haarlem, the Netherlands, who died in Scheveningen prison in 1944, declaring to his captors that he would never stop harboring Jews. Master Sergeant Roddy Edmonds, 422nd Infantry Regiment, 106th Infantry Division, United States Army, who was the senior POW at Stalag 9B, refused to identify or turn over any Jewish service members to the Germans. Queen Elizabeth of Belgium, who used her influence to prevent hundreds of Jewish children from being deported to the concentration camps by the Nazis who were occupying her country. Jeanne Daman, Belgium, who rescued 2,000 Jewish children from the Nazis. Oskar Schindler, made famous by the movie Schindler's List, who saved 1,200 Jews from the death camps by employing them in his factories. Pastor Per Fay Hansen of Norway, who saved dozens of Jews hiding in Nazi-occupied Oslo and successfully got them to safety in neutral Sweden. Austrian soldier Sergeant Anton Schmidt was executed by the Germans on April 13, 1942, after he saved the lives of 300 Jews in and around the Vilna ghetto. Swiss diplomat Karl Lutz, vice consul of the Swiss embassy in Budapest, Hungary, who saved over 60,000 Hungarian Jews from deportation to the death camps. Irish citizen Mary Elms, who saved 200 Jewish children while living in Vichy and Nazi-occupied southern France. Italian Roman Catholic journalist Edward Foccherini provided false documents and transportation of Jews to neutral Switzerland. Captured by the Nazis, he died at Heeresbruck concentration camp on December 27, 1944. Queen Helen of Greece and Denmark, the Queen Mother of Romania, who saved many Romanian Jews throughout the Holocaust. Colonel José Arturo Castellanos Contreras, a Salvadorian army officer who was El Salvador's consul general in Geneva during World War II, saved up to 40,000 Jews and Central Europeans by providing them with asylum. Maria Edwards McClure of Chile and Paris, France, participated in the French resistance and saved several Jewish children despite being arrested and tortured by the Gestapo on several occasions. Major Frank Foley of the British Army and Secret Intelligence Service was a passport control officer, helped thousands of German Jews come to England during the 1930s. Varian Fry, an American journalist in Vichy-controlled France, who helped between 2,000 to 4,000 Jews and anti-Nazi refugees escape Nazi Germany. Namik Kemal Yolga, a Turkish diplomat based in Paris, who helped rescue 1,300 Turkish Jews across Western Europe from being sent to concentration camps. Angel Sanz Briz, a Spanish diplomat posted in Budapest, who saved 5,000 Austrian Jews from being sent to Auschwitz. He is often called the Angel of Budapest. Swedish diplomat Raoul Wallenberg, who saved 4,500 Jews while in Nazi-occupied Hungary. In addition to the righteous among the nations, the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum has recognized 35 U.S. Army divisions for having liberated the concentration and death camps. As members of the National Guard, we can take extraordinary pride in knowing the 26th Infantry Division from Massachusetts, the 29th Infantry Division from Virginia, the 30th Infantry Division from North Carolina, the 36th Infantry Division from Texas, the 42nd Infantry Division from New York, and the 45th Infantry Division from Oklahoma. All National Guard divisions are among this hallowed group. To those brave men and women who put on the uniform over 70 years ago, defeated tyranny, and liberated the oppressed, you are our heritage. You are our heroes, and our country and the world owe you a debt that can never fully be repaid. Finally, it would be impossible to hold the ceremony without mentioning the COVID-19 virus, which we are currently battling. Just as in World War II, we are dealing with a worldwide crisis. Just as in World War II and the Holocaust, we're witnessing death on a mass scale. And just as in World War II and the Shoah, we are witnessing heartbreak and tragedy every minute and every hour of every day. However, just as there were resistance fighters and Allied soldiers who selflessly fought to combat evil and rescue the enslaved, today we see doctors, nurses, physician's assistants, EMTs, and a host of other medical professionals and first responders who are working day in and day out and constantly exposing themselves to this deadly virus in order to bring comfort, save lives, and help defeat this pandemic. The prophet Isaiah, when asked by God who will deliver prophecy to the nation of Israel, proudly steps forward and declares, Hineni shalacheni, here I am, send me. In you we see the same Spirit as in the greatest generation and the prophet Isaiah. Because of you, there is light at the end of the tunnel. For that, you have our enduring love and our deepest thanks. To all of you watching, I am extremely appreciative and grateful for you attending today. May God bless you. May God keep you. May God bless the United States of America. Before we conclude today, I want to offer my sincerest thanks to Lieutenant Colonel Smith and Specialist Prevost from the Public Affairs Office of the Mississippi National Guard for all their help in putting this together. I also want to thank Chaplain Terry Parton and Chaplain Morris of the Mississippi National Guard for their help in creating this solemn and beautiful ceremony.